What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome back to Warriors Latest. As always, I am your host, Max Arizin. Big thanks to all you guys for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, as I do post new Warriors videos daily, and it does help the channel continue to grow as the season moves along. And also, for the good news, we are now available wherever you get your normal podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever. So if you can't catch us on YouTube for Warriors Latest, feel free to catch us on Apple Music or Spotify. Now, after the game, I gotta say I do like the fact that Steph is being held out, because you know what? Continuing to play Steph and not giving him like a ton of minutes, I think is going to benefit him going into the play-in game, as well as benefit the Warriors in positioning in terms of better lottery odds when they likely will lose the first play-in game to Portland, but maybe they don't, but then lose the next play-in game to either LA or Phoenix. So I'm happy about that. Now, they may, if they keep him to the play-in game, they may go back-to-back, 2 wins on the road, and then play the Thunder in a 7-game series. But let's be honest. That's 4 straight games on the road. And do you really think the Warriors are going to win 4 straight games on the road and take a 2-0 advantage against the Thunder? I don't think so. Now, this is a team that will surprise you and has surprised you many times this season, but look, this team is just Murphy's Law right now, and everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. So the best thing they can do is hold out Steph for any potential knee injury that he may get by accident in these last 2 games. So, you know what? I'm happy they're holding him out. I'm happy that they're focusing on positioning. And I generally like the idea. It's like, all right, we accept what we are. Let's not ruin anything before it gets worse, and let's take it one step at a time. We know we have a plan going into the off season. Let's just roll the dice. We're playing with house money right now. Let's roll the dice, see what happens with what we've got, and not rush anything in terms of, hey, we're going to try and fight and beat the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder in a 7-game series. No, let's just focus on next season, see what experience we can get in the playoffs right now with these 2 do-or-die games potentially, and then figure it out from there. So I'm happy they're holding out Steph for that particular purpose, because looking forward to this offseason, the Warriors do have a lot of options, and I love it. And the biggest option I'm seeing is with Ade Mara. Now, we have to consider the fact that, all right, so let's say the Warriors they don't move up and pull what I like to call a Hawks or a Mavericks and get like a top 4 pick as a play-in team. Let's go on that assumption that they don't do that. Now, Ade Mara, prior to the tournament, prior to the championship game, prior to the tournament, he wasn't even thought of as a good prospect. He was a late second rounder, I believe, but the tournament really changed that, turned him to an early second rounder, maybe a late first rounder. But after that championship game, he turned into a potential lottery pick. Late lottery, but a lottery pick nonetheless. Now, looking at his numbers and how he's grown, I do love the fact that he does turn 22 today. And that's a big win in my book, because you need mature players when you're a rookie getting drafted to a championship aspiration team. Now, if you're a rookie getting drafted to, say, a bad team and you're trying to help them build into something, look, I get it. Age doesn't really help you. You want like a young freshman, and look, I don't blame teams for taking guys who are young when you're building something, but the Warriors are already built, and let's be honest, going into next season, they're going full banana boat. I wouldn't be surprised if they say, hey, Moses Moody, we love you, but we gotta trade you, because you know what? You're injured until December, and we're trying to build something here. I wouldn't be surprised if they do trade him for, say, like Klay Thompson or something. But that's beside the point. With Ade Mara, what he provides as a late first-round pick, if they decide to keep the pick and they just don't really do anything with the trades and they try and focus on the free agent market with the likes of LeBron and other guys that may take discounted discounted prices to play with Steph and to go after one last championship and then next summer blow it all up. What Ade Mara does bring is the fact that he is that solid center that the Warriors have been needing forever. They haven't had a solid big man in the middle since Zaza Pachulia and Andrew Bogut. And you need guys like that if you're going to be successful in this league. Because looking forward, it's like you've got to deal with Joker. You have to deal with Rudy Gobert. You have to deal with DeAndre Ayton from time to time. You're going to have to deal with Donovan Klinger. You're going to have to deal with bigs that are going to give you problems, especially the best big in the business, Victor Wembanyama, who I still believe is going to win MVP this year should he play his 20 minutes in one of these final 2 games. So I see that happening, but Wemby is here, and you have to have something that really works with him to at least get some just way to stop him, because it's obvious that Porzingis isn't going to do that, even though he is a big man at 7'3". What I do like about Ade Mara, I don't know who I think I always get that confused with AJ Mitchell. But with Ade Mara, what you get is a guy who's slowly improved year after year. He went from 3.5 points to 6.5 points to 12 points. So he's doubling his numbers every year. And on top of that, this year, the craziest fact, he averaged over 2.5 blocks per game. Like, that is exactly what the Warriors need. They need a post presence where you can't just drive in there and expect to get an easy bucket. Now, I get it. He doesn't have a 3-point shot, and I understand that, but that's okay. We need to see the Warriors get a solid rebounder and a guy who can just go up, grab a rebound, throw it out to Steph, or just telegraph it all the way down for a fast break. And I believe he is 7'2" or 7'3". Let me double check those numbers. Oh, he is 7'3", 240 pounds. Are you kidding me? That is exactly what the Warriors need. Now, imagine this. Next season, all right, they get LeBron. They get Draymond. They're waiting for Jimmy to come back. And you have Steph, who has completely come back from his runner's knee. Now, imagine that team with Porzingis at the 4 and Mara at the 5, that twin tower lineup of 7'3" bigs. And you say, oh, there's going to be spacing issues. There's going to be spacing issues. There's going to be no spacing issues because of how good a stretch big that Porzingis is, and it's going to be great. Now, they're going to be a very dangerous team if they bring Ade Mara on. But granted, this is only happening if the Warriors do strike out on the draft, and they still have to continue to build through the draft and free agency. Now, if the Warriors do strike gold in the draft, but they strike out on Giannis, which is a possibility, it's not a big possibility, but it's a very real one. The Warriors have to continue to reach out to the Celtics. Now, you could say, why the Celtics, Mac? Why the Celtics? Well, the fact remains how good the Celtics played this year without Jason Tatum. And yes, he has come back and he has meshed well. It just goes to show that Tatum's a luxury. And in the modern NBA, luxuries are great, but financial flexibility is better. And you look at what the Warriors can offer for a guy like Tatum. Now, Tatum, he's a very expensive contract. He has long-term money. And for the Celtics, they want to continue to build this dynasty. And for what the Warriors can offer, if they don't get the likes of Giannis, they could get 5 first-round picks, including a top 4 pick. Now, granted, this is all dependent on the Warriors getting into the top 4 should they lose their first play-in game. That is very dependent on that. But they could also get young players like Brandon Pajemski, Will Richard, Moses Moody, and just different guys like that to go along with the likes of those 5 first-round picks. And for the Warriors, what Tatum brings to the table is he extends the lifespan of Steph. So that's one thing the Warriors like. They're still in championship now mode, and Jason Tatum does help with that. So don't be surprised if it happens, because the Celtics, they want to extend their championship window too. They've gone from playoff contenders to championship contenders, I want to say, for over 10 years. Their first big move was in 2015 when they were sort of aiming for the lottery. It was the first year in the rebuild. They get Isaiah Thomas, and then they go and make the playoffs as the eighth seed, and then do well from there. And then the next year they build on top of that. They build on top of that year after year after year, and they're constant championship contenders. Now, they could be championship contenders without Jason Tatum, and they've shown it this year with the number 2 seed that they sealed. Everybody thought that this was going to be a gap year because they traded away Porzingis. They traded away everybody. Who else did they trade away? They traded away a lot because they could not stand with that tax burden, especially after the sale of the Celtics. Celtics trades. I want to say, well, the biggest one, honestly, was Porzingis, and they got, who else was it? It was a couple guys they got rid of last season that really didn't help them. So they got rid of them. They really shrunk, but they found a way to continue to compete. And I think just getting rid of Tatum and accepting it's like, hey, you got to go. Sorry, it's just business, and it's not personal. It gives them an opportunity to continue to draft great players on top of the draft picks that they already have. And if they get that draft stash, to combine a large draft stash with the team that they currently have, and then you add Moses Moody and probably Pajemski and maybe some other players along with that for Jason Tatum, that's not a bad deal because that turns the Celtics from the 70s Celtics into the 80s Celtics that were a constant powerhouse because they had so many draft assets that they could work with. That's what made that 80s Celtics team great. And that's what's going to continue to keep them great is by moving Jason Tatum, and the Warriors should take full advantage of that. But again, bottom line is the Warriors do have a lot of options. And that's the great thing by holding Steph out, by looking at guys like Ade Mara, by looking at guys like Jason Tatum. They have options. They have many things to do in this offseason because they're not handcuffed by a guy like Jonathan Kuminga. Last year, that handcuffing just ruined everything, and it led to this Murphy's Law season. So I'm happy the season's coming to a close. We'll see what happens when it comes to the play-in games. And you know what? If they lose, no big deal. We've got a fun offseason ahead, and it's going to be a real treat to see what the Warriors do. Now, that's all we have today for Warriors Latest. As always, a big thanks to you guys for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, as well as listening to us on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you have any thoughts on who else the Warriors should go after this offseason, should they either get a top 4 pick that is very tradable along with the other 4 first-round picks that are available to trade, or that they strike out in terms of getting a high draft pick, and they pick between, say, 10 and 14. Who should they draft? Feel free to comment below, as I love hearing your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.